Have you ever felt like there's got to be a simpler way, to grow personally and spiritually? Like maybe we don't need all the complicated rituals and obscure text.
Yeah.
Well, today's deep dive might just resonate with you. We're going to explore the yoga of love
Okay.
based on the teachings of Emmett Fox.
You know what's so fascinating about Fox's work, especially as we're hearing it in this episode of the Infinite Expansion podcast,
Right.
is that he cuts through all the noise
Yeah.
and offers what he believes is like the shortest, the most direct path to spiritual fulfillment. And that path is love.
Okay, so right off the bat, I am intrigued.
Yeah.
But I have to ask, are we talking about like romantic love here?
Right.
Because that can be pretty complicated.
That's such a great question.
Yeah.
And it's definitely one that Fox addresses head on.
Okay.
He's not talking about the kind of love that's fleeting
Right.
or conditional that we often see in our personal relationships.
Okay.
This is a much deeper and more universal love.
All right, so let's dive into that then. The podcast we're looking at mentions multiple paths to spiritual growth.
Yeah.
So where does love fit into all of this?
Well, Fox talks about three main paths: knowledge, action, and love.
Okay.
And he acknowledges that all of those paths can lead to spiritual attainment.
Right.
But he argues that the path of love is the most accessible one.
Hmm.
It's the one that's most accessible to everyone.
I can see how that would be really appealing.
Right.
It seems like a path that wouldn't require, years of study or strict practices.
Exactly.
Is that what makes it the shortest path, according to Fox?
Yes, precisely.
Okay.
It's a path that is truly open to everyone,
Yeah.
regardless of their background, their
Mhm.
beliefs, or circumstances.
Yeah.
But it's important to understand what Fox actually means when he uses the word love in this context. You
Okay.
see, it's not just a feeling, it's more of a way of being.
So how does he define this type of love?
Yeah.
It seems like kind of a big concept to wrap our heads around.
It is a big concept. Fox describes love as the full expression of divine life.
Oh.
It's a powerful and positive force
Mhm.
that he believes is present in all of us.
Mm-hmm.
He calls it a source of peace, holiness, beauty, and joy, and connects it to something larger than ourselves.
Wow. So it's like he's saying that this kind of love is essential
Yes.
for our souls to thrive.
Totally.
Like a plant needs sunlight.
That's a fantastic analogy.
Yeah.
You're exactly right.
Okay.
This type of love is essential, and Fox suggests that the biggest thing that blocks us from experiencing this love,
Okay.
and therefore blocks us from spiritual growth,
Right.
is fear.
Well, that definitely resonates. I
Yeah.
think fear is something we all struggle with.
Absolutely.
So the idea that love is the antidote to that is incredibly powerful.
It really is. And, Fox doesn't just say that love is the opposite of fear.
Yeah.
He actually goes a little bit deeper, and he explains that fear is actually rooted in a lack of this divine love.
No, that's a powerful statement. I'm definitely curious to hear more about that connection. Like, how can loving something greater than ourselves help us overcome our fears?
Well, think about it this way. When we experience fear, a lot of times it comes from a sense of separation, like we're alone and we're vulnerable. But when we connect to this greater love that Fox describes, we begin to feel a sense of belonging,
Okay.
of being part of something much bigger than ourselves.
So it's about shifting our perspective from like a place of scarcity and fear
Exactly.
to a place of abundance and trust.
Precisely. It's about recognizing that we are inherently loved and supported, even when things are tough.
Yeah.
And when we truly grasp that, it naturally begins to dissolve our fears.
That's pretty profound, but it also sounds like a pretty big shift to make.
It can be.
Yeah.
But Fox doesn't just leave us hanging with this concept.
Okay.
He actually provides practical guidance
Okay.
on how we can cultivate this kind of love in our daily lives.
Okay.
And that's what we'll explore next.
All right. I'm ready.
Let's do it. So we've established that this universal love, this love consciousness, as Fox sometimes calls it, can have a profound impact on our lives.
Yeah.
And it can help us overcome fear.
Right.
But how do we actually cultivate this love
Yeah, that's the question.
in a practical way?
Yeah, how do we make it happen in our busy, messy, real lives?
Well, Fox gives us some very specific steps we can take.
Okay.
One of the foundational principles is replacing negative thoughts with more loving ones.
Yeah.
He really believed, and you hear this echoed in the Infinite Expansion podcast, that our thoughts hold immense power. They literally shape our reality.
So he's saying we need to be more mindful of like the stories we tell ourselves.
Exactly. We need to become aware of those default negative thought patterns.
Okay.
You know, the judgment, the criticism, the resentment, the fear,
All right.
and make a conscious choice to replace those with thoughts that are rooted in love,
Yeah.
compassion, and understanding.
Okay, but how do we actually gain control?
Yeah.
Our minds can be like wild horses sometimes.
It's true.
Yeah, just galloping off with all sorts of negative thoughts.
Well, Fox suggests a really practical approach.
Okay.
He says, start small,
Okay.
pick one specific negative thought pattern that you want to work on.
Okay.
Maybe it's constantly criticizing yourself,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe it's holding on to anger towards someone who has hurt you.
Right.
Once you've identified that pattern, pay attention to it.
Okay.
Notice when it comes up.
But it's about self-awareness first. Like shining a light on those dark corners of our minds.
Exactly. You can't change what you're not aware of.
Right.
Once you're aware of that thought, you can then choose to replace it with something more loving.
Okay.
For example, if you catch yourself thinking, I'm not good enough,
Right.
you could try replacing that thought with, I am worthy and I'm capable of achieving my goals.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
It's like retraining our brains to focus on the positive.
exactly.
But what about when those negative emotions feel really overwhelming? How can we connect with this love when we're like right in the thick of it?
Well, Fox was a big proponent of prayer and meditation.
Okay.
He believed that connecting to a higher power,
Right.
whether you call that God or the universe, or simply a source of love and wisdom, can provide incredible strength and support, especially during those challenging times.
So it's about tapping into a power that's bigger than ourselves.
Yes.
Something that can help us kind of transcend our own limited perspective.
Exactly. When we feel connected to something greater, we can access like a wellspring of love that
Okay.
can help us to overcome even the toughest challenges.
I love how this is all coming together.
Yeah.
But, I'm still wondering what this actually looks like in everyday life.
Right.
I mean, it's not like we could just walk around, with blissful smiles on our faces all the time.
Of course not.
Right.
Life is going to throw curveballs.
Yeah.
Practicing love isn't about denying or suppressing our emotions.
Right.
It's about choosing how we respond to them.
Yeah.
Fox believed that every interaction, every challenge that we face
Yeah.
presents us with an opportunity to practice love.
So it's about making conscious choices in each moment.
Yes. For example, let's say someone cuts you off in traffic.
Oh, yeah.
You can choose to react with anger and frustration,
Right.
or you can choose to practice patience and understanding.
It's like that saying, love is a verb.
Yes.
It's an action.
Exactly. Fox actually talked a lot about expressing love through our actions.
Mm-hmm.
He encourages us to look for opportunities to serve others,
Okay.
to offer kindness and generosity, to
Right.
contribute to the well-being of the people around us.
It's about like weaving love into the very fabric of our lives, right?
Yes.
Into our relationships, our work, our interactions with the world.
Exactly. Fox believed that true spiritual growth doesn't happen in isolation.
Right.
It unfolds as we engage with the world and we practice love in all aspects of our lives.
So this yoga of love is an active practice,
Yes.
not a passive one.
Def-
It's about doing, not just thinking.
Absolutely. It's about making love an integral part of how we live our lives.
Mhm.
And that's where the real transformation happens.
Okay, so if we're actively practicing this yoga of love, how can we gauge our progress?
That's a great question.
Yeah, how do we know if we're actually on the right track?
Well, Fox suggested paying attention to the fruits of our efforts.
Okay.
He said that as we cultivate this love, we begin to experience more peace, joy, and harmony in our lives.
Okay.
Our relationships often improve.
Right.
Our overall well-being flourishes,
Yeah.
and we feel more connected to ourselves and to the world around us.
So it's about noticing the positive changes that are happening.
Yes.
Not just waiting for some grand enlightenment experience,
Uh-huh.
but appreciating those subtle shifts
Yes.
in our day-to-day experience.
You got it. Fox encourages us to be patient with ourselves. Spiritual growth is a journey, not a destination.
Right.
And it's a journey that's infused with love, even in the midst of the challenges.
This has been an incredibly illuminating exploration of Fox's yoga of love.
It has.
I feel really inspired to put these ideas into practice.
Me too.
But before we wrap up, is there anything else you think we should consider as we embark on this journey?
You know, one of the things that really struck me as I was revisiting the Infinite Expansion podcast episode
Mhm.
was Fox's emphasis on the interconnectedness of all beings. He believed that we're all part of one big, beautiful tapestry
Yeah.
woven together by this invisible web of love.
So it's not just about cultivating love for ourselves and those close to us.
Right.
It's about expanding that circle of love to include everyone.
Exactly. Fox believed that as we cultivate love for ourselves and for those around us, it naturally expands outwards.
Mm-hmm.
It touches and transforms the world in ways that we may never fully comprehend.
It's like that ripple effect.
Yes.
You know, as we practice love, we create these ripples of positivity
Yeah.
that spread outward, impacting the world in ways we may never even see.
Such a powerful thought.
It is.
It reminds us that each and every one of us has the power to make a difference in the world, simply by choosing to practice love in our daily lives.
This has been such an inspiring conversation.
It really has.
I feel like we've only just scratched the surface of Fox's teachings, but I'm leaving with a renewed sense of hope and a deeper understanding of the transformative power of love.
Me too. And I think Fox would be thrilled to know that his message of love continues to resonate with people today,
Yeah.
offering a path to a more fulfilling and meaningful life.
As we've been exploring this yoga of love, it's really striking me how simple but profound his message is.
Yeah.
It's like he's stripped away all the complicated stuff
Right.
and just given us this incredibly powerful tool for growth love. Yeah.
You know, it is really striking how he brings together this idea of cultivating love within ourselves,
Right.
with our interconnectedness with all beings.
Yeah.
It's not just about feeling good.
Right.
It's about recognizing that love is a force that can change us and the world.
And one of the things I find really empowering is that he emphasizes choice.
Yes.
He reminds us that we always have a choice in how we respond to life's challenges.
Absolutely.
You know, we can choose fear or we can choose love.
He doesn't say that love is like a magic solution
Right.
that's just going to instantly erase all of our problems.
Right.
He acknowledges that life can be difficult.
Yeah.
We will face obstacles and
Right.
we will experience pain, but he offers a way to move through those challenges
Okay.
with grace and resilience
Yeah.
by using the power of love.
And I appreciate that he doesn't sugarcoat it.
Yeah.
He's honest about the fact that cultivating this love consciousness takes work.
Mm-hmm.
It requires us to pay attention to our thoughts,
Yes.
to really challenge our ingrained patterns of negativity,
Right.
and to make that conscious choice to respond to life with love, even when it's tough.
It's true. It's not always easy.
Right.
There are times when we'll falter,
Mm-hmm.
when we slip back into those old habits of fear and judgment.
Right.
But Fox says that the important thing is persistence. Keep practicing. Keep choosing love, even when you don't see those results right away.
So it's not about like reaching some perfect state of unwavering love.
Right.
It's about the journey, the ongoing practice
Exactly.
of choosing love again and again.
I think that's what makes his teaching so relatable.
Mhm.
He doesn't act like he's some enlightened guru
Right.
above the human experience.
Yep.
He acknowledges his own struggles, and he just encourages us to approach this with humility and compassion for ourselves and others.
That's a really good point. You know, it's so easy to get caught up in the idea of spiritual perfection.
Yeah.
But he reminds us that it's not about being perfect. It's about progress.
Right.
It's about the continuous effort to align with love.
And he also says we don't have to do it alone.
Right.
He encourages us to connect to a source of love and wisdom that's bigger than ourselves.
Why is
Draw strength from that connection.
That's so reassuring. It's like having a backup system, knowing that we're always connected to that source of love,
Yes.
even when we feel lost or alone.
Exactly. And that connection can be a source of strength,
Yeah.
especially during those tough times.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the yoga of love,
Mm-hmm.
what's the one thing you really want our listeners to take away from this?
I think the biggest thing is that love is not simply a feeling.
Okay.
It's an active force
Right.
that we can choose to cultivate in every part of our lives.
Hmm.
It has the power to heal,
Yeah.
to transform, and to connect us to something much greater than ourselves.
That is beautifully said. And I think it's just this wonderful invitation to embrace this idea of the yoga of love
Yeah.
in our own lives, to really make that choice to cultivate love in everything we do.
Absolutely. And just remember that this is an ongoing journey.
Yeah.
It's not about becoming perfect overnight. It's about continuously putting in the effort to bring more love into the world.
Yeah.
And that starts with ourselves.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the yoga of love.
It was my pleasure.
We hope you found it insightful and inspiring. Until next time, may love be your guide.